welcome here to Talk FCB and welcome to full reaction of the Champions League draw, which has just been made, and it's quite extraordinary. Barca here now are not only well aware of their quarterfinal opponents in the Champions League, but we know our entire route to Wembley, and it's safe to say the draw has thrown up plenty of opportunities, and we're going to be discussing all of it right here today. Plus as well, we're going to be discussing Barca's Club World Cup situation, because that's also a really hot topic right now, and that very much ties in with the Champions League too. So there's plenty on the agenda today. Let's do this. Because ahead of the Champions League draw, there were some very, very interesting super thanks that came in there. Predictions ahead of the draw. There was one here that said we would either get Real Madrid or Atletico. And Hussein, big fan of the channel, he also hoped and predicted Atletico Madrid. Big thanks indeed for the support, my friend. But it was Amir. He said that he wanted PSG. And well, you got your wish. That is what is going to happen. But let's get into the draw. Let's get into the full picture right here. Because I have to say, first of all, it was so nice to be back in the draw, to feel those nerves ahead of the names being picked out there, and just to get that Champions League buzz again. Not to get all emotional here, but I really missed that feeling, and it was absolutely fantastic. And the way the draw was done there, the first team out was Arsenal, and I think we were all thinking, okay, if we have to, that's fine. We will take Arsenal. We will be happy to be drawn against them, but no, they got Bayern. I mean, I'm sure they are delighted about that. You could almost see there on the officials' faces when that draw was done. Arsenal have faced Bayern a few too many times, and we can also feel that pain, believe me. But up next was Atletico Madrid, and again you're thinking, we'll have them. We will take Atletico Madrid. Of all the teams in the draw, it was between them, I would say, and Dortmund, the so-called easiest teams that you might want, but they actually got drawn together there. Atletico Madrid coming up against Dortmund, a real opportunity there for both teams, and what that then meant was Barca was going to be drawn against either Real Madrid, Man City, or Paris Saint-Germain. And of course then came out Real versus Man City, and what a clash that is there. In the quarter-final, one of those two is going out. It is an absolute monster occasion, and that then left us with PSG, which I think, guys, when we were faced up there with a potential meeting against, say, Man City, then getting PSG, you feel like you've gotten away with one. Now, I don't want to say here that it's an easy draw for Barca. Paris Saint-Germain will present an enormous challenge to us, because like I said yesterday, before the draw, they've got real pace in their team. And if there's one thing at Barca that we don't really deal well with, particularly there, when we leave spaces in behind, when we leave spaces in midfield, you do not want to be attacked by raw pace and sheer speed out there on the field, and they've got that in abundance. They've got Mbappe on one wing, they've got Dembele on the other. That is the stuff there that Barca will have nightmares about, but we've got to deal with that. We've got to find a way to deal with that, because it's not an impossible game. It's not like coming up here against what is a super team who are flying right now, who have everything under control in the dressing room, for example, because we know at any given moment, PSG, as a club, they can implode. They are often not far away from an absolute explosion, and we have to play on that. We have to make sure here that we come into this game full of belief, as we've said, full of confidence that we can win against them. We got a few reunions, not only Ousmane Dembele, of course, but Luis Enrique. We are going to be going up against him in the dugout, and of course we know he's an incredible tactical mind there. His team play excellent football. He will have everybody very, very organised, but on paper, we can attack this game. We can feel as though, on our day, if we play to the level that we can, if our star players step up, if we have our players available, that's always a good start, we can cause PSG problems in this tie. Which is why when you're looking at all of the quarter-final matches here that have been drawn now, before we move on to talk about the semi-final, I would argue there that Barca have got maybe the second best matchup in the draw. I think certainly their Atleti and Dortmund, that was the matchup that you'd want to be in. Those were the teams there that you would have been more happy to face, but I think Arsenal against Bayern, that's a really, really tough one indeed. And Real against Man City, like I say, those are two big hitters. And the important thing to note as well, ahead of Barca versus PSG, is that Hakimi will miss the first leg of that game due to suspension. And the first legs will be played there on the 9th and 10th of April, before the second legs will be on the 16th and 17th of April as well. But indeed, guys, that was not all there was to this draw, because I actually believe here that when we talk then about the route to Wembley, things get even more interesting. Things actually get more exciting when you look further ahead, because say Barca were to get past PSG, say here that we were able to find two wonderful performances, we would then, as a result of that win, play either Atletico Madrid or Dortmund in the semi-final of the Champions League. I mean, that is unbelievable. If that is not a major opportunity for Barca, I don't know what is there. Because the other thing you've got to bear in mind here, not only the team, not only who we're going to come up against, but Barca in both the quarterfinal and the potential semi-final will play the second leg at home. So both of those ties there, we would be coming back to our stadium. You felt the atmosphere. You saw it there against Napoli. The stadium will be bouncing. And I just think this is a massive draw for Barca here. I know that PSG is a big obstacle. We will certainly need to overcome them. And we will need to see a Barca that we haven't seen for pretty much all of the season so far. But if, just looking at the potentials, just looking at the maybes here, if we were able to find a way past them, a semi-final against Atleti and Dortmund to reach the final of the Champions League, to go to Wembley, that is an opportunity. That is an absolutely massive chance for this club here. Think of what that would mean. Think of those matches. Think of the feeling. And even as well, let's not forget, let's think about the prize money. That would be absolutely huge in every single way for this club. Because if you look at the other side of that draw, you've got Arsenal and Bayern, you've got Real and Man City. There's no question about it. That is a harder side of the draw. Much, much more difficult over there. We've been given a chance here. And don't forget, every other team in our side of the draw, they'll feel the same way. So there's no slight here on PSG, Atleti or Dortmund. All of those teams right there, they will feel as though, okay, we've got the opportunity. We can actually do this. We can get to the final, but we can feel that way too. We must believe. We must actually feel as though we can do this. And we must raise our level to make it happen. However, guys, we are certainly not done yet, though, on the Champions League, because we'll also have to talk now about the Club World Cup, because I've had lots of questions there about the Club World Cup, Barca's chances of qualifying for it, including here this super thanks donation from Eduardo. Big thank you indeed for the support. And let me explain now in detail exactly where we stand on this brand new competition. Because FIFA's club competition, the Club World Cup, will indeed take on a brand new format from 2025 there. It will expand to a whopping 32 teams. Yes, there's more games coming, as if we needed that, with a tournament now set to be held every 4 years in a much bigger, much grander way in FIFA's mind. Now, the first tournament in 2025 will be held in the United States, and the reason why so many people here are talking about Barca's potential route to qualification is the fact that it would bring in 50 million euros of additional revenue immediately. Upon qualification, it would be a huge windfall there for Barca, which, as we know, in our current climate, in our financial situation, every bit of revenue, it is essential for us. But here's the thing, because only 12 clubs from UEFA will be permitted to qualify for the tournament there. The rest of the 32 teams there will be made up of federations from around the world, and all 4 winners of the Champions League between 2021 and 2024 will be automatically entered into the new Club World Cup, which will then leave 8 more teams that will be determined based upon the club's ranking in Europe, basically the coefficient from the past 4 years in European competition. And well, that is kind of a problem when it comes to Barca right now, because what that basically means is you are going to be judged on your last 4 years in Europe, how you've played, the wins you've got, how far you've gone in the tournaments. And well, the last 4 years in Europe for us have not gone well at all. Our ranking in Europe there, our coefficient position is not where it usually would be, from a few years ago. And that leaves us now with a real uphill task here to qualify for the Club World Cup in 2025. Because the other big problem that Barca have is that only 2 teams from the same country can qualify for each tournament. And that means right now that Real Madrid, they won the Champions League, they are already qualified, and Atletico Madrid, they are right now in the driving seat for that second place from Spain. So Barca have a real problem there, particularly after Atletico's last gasp win against Inter Milan. That really did dent our chances of qualification, but we are not completely out of the running yet. It's difficult, it is an uphill task, it is going to be tough to do it, but we are just about still in the race if we look at a few permutations. Because in order for Barca to qualify for the Club World Cup, right now at least, Atletico Madrid would need to lose both of their quarter-final matches against Borussia Dortmund. And even then, if that happened, Barca would still need to make the semi-finals of this competition. They would need there to win 2 matches and draw 1 match en route there between the quarters and the semis in order to qualify ahead of Atletico, to get more ranking points than they would have. But of course, let me just say that us getting to the final, that would give us even more points. Right now we're looking at the realistic scenarios. We're looking here at Atletico Madrid, and especially now they're on the same side of the draw as we are, we can look at their progress very, very closely, because it all depends on them. It depends on how they got on against Dortmund. If they were to get knocked out, if they were to lose both of those games, then suddenly the door well and truly opens to Barca. And let me just put it out there, let me just state this, because it's a fact that if Barca were to win this year's Champions League, they'd be in. They'd be qualified. So the task is simple. If you are Barcelona, if you want to be at the Club World Cup, all you've got to do is win the Champions League. That's it. That's all you've got to do. Go and win the Champions League, and everyone, and I mean everyone, at least connected with Barca, will be absolutely delighted. So that there, guys, is the full update on the Club World Cup, on the Champions League draw. But what I want to know today is, how are you feeling? How are you feeling there to be coming up against Paris Saint-Germain? Let's focus on the quarter-final. I think we can be excited by what's ahead. I think we can be excited there by that potential semi-final draw. But are you confident that we can get there? Do you believe there's a route past PSG? Do let me know all of those thoughts right now in the comments down below. We're going to be talking so much more about this. We are going to be getting really hyped ahead of the quarter-final stage. I cannot wait already. So thank you indeed, guys, for all of you here tuning in today and for all of your fantastic support. I will catch you soon. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.